And this is made possible by GIP 60. So if any of you all here supported that proposal, much appreciated. We'll be here for the next few months, bi-weekly, doing this show. And we did manage to find, in fact, the dictionary definition for DAOcast. So if you followed Gnosis Chain Twitter earlier in the week, we shared a bit about what we're going to be up to today. So the TLDR here is bi-weekly broadcasts that will inform, educate, engage, and maybe have some fun and entertain a little bit. In fact, we got some trivia that I put together for about halfway through the show today. So we're going to try to hit all those bases again every other week. We're going to break down all the latest news from Gnosis DAO and the Gnosis Chain ecosystem in the first 30 minutes of the hour. And then for the back half, we're going to invite a guest on for each show. And today we're very excited to invite Uma of Succinct Labs. And she's going to be joining us around 10:30 or Eastern or 4:30 p.m. Central European today. And she'll be on to share a bit about herself, the Succinct Labs team and their project. I think her passion for zero knowledge proofs and ZK snarks, and then specifically the work that the Succinct team is up to for GnosisDAO. And they were funded to help develop some potential ZK snarks-based trustless bridging solutions. So we're very excited to hear from her, and she'll be with us the second half of the hour today. So to give you a little bit more detail about the show before we get into it, you can also watch the broadcast either live or after the fact on YouTube. So we're going to be streaming directly the audio from this Twitter space will be combined with a bit of motion graphics and streamed out on the Gnosis Chain YouTube page. So if you head over there, make sure to subscribe. We got some cool content there, post-produced as well as previous live content, and we'll be broadcasting directly from this space and on the Gnosis Chain YouTube bi-weekly. And your feedback, folks, is greatly appreciated. So you can DM me directly. Again, I'm T Wells here. And let me know what you liked, what you hated, what you think can be improved about the show, ideas for content, guests, etc. We're looking for all great ideas and creativity. And so again, DM me here if you want to leave a comment perhaps on the GIP 60 proposal on the Gnosis forum. I would also invite you to do so. And a quick list just of housekeeping items. If you haven't been in the Gnosis DAO forum recently, definitely head over to forum.gnosis.io. There's a lot of cool conversations taking place there. We'll touch on a few of them in the show today. And of course, if you have ideas for ways to improve the protocol, make sure to jump in. You can contact either me. You can reach out to other folks via the forum there. Dasha is here on the call, and we can get you started and head in the right direction. Make sure to subscribe to, again, the Gnosis Chain YouTube, follow the Gnosis Chain and Gnosis DAO accounts here on Twitter. I also want to invite you to please subscribe to the Gnosis Chain Substack newsletter. It's published every week on Friday, so there's a new one coming out today. In fact, this show is intended to sort of track alongside the newsletter to provide some live coverage and opportunity to engage on the topics and all the different stuff that's going on in the ecosystem. Definitely subscribe. So if you haven't yet, head over to Substack, or you can just go into Google. Keep an eye out for the tweet later today, but you can just Google Gnosis Chain Substack, subscribe. There is also a secondary Substack specifically for validators. And so if you are either helping to secure the network now or interested in doing so in the future, I believe the tweet to this specific Substack is pinned at the top of the Gnosis Chain Twitter page here. Last but not least, if you haven't had a chance to learn about Gnosis Chain, head over to their docs. And there's a lot of great information there to learn about what we're up to here, how the ecosystem works and how it is growing. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get into the show for today. As I mentioned, we have about 30 minutes of news and topics that we'll share with you about what's going on in the Gnosis ecosystem. And in the second hour, we'll have a guest on. I want to remind you, towards the bottom of the hour, we're going to have 2 trivia questions. And I'm going to tell you how this works when we get there. But we'll have 2 trivia questions, and these are going to relate to Gnosis Chain specifically and the sort of the validator space, okay? One of the things that I think sets Gnosis Chain apart is its emphasis truly on grassroots node running and the pursuit of decentralization. So There's going to be a little bit of GNO that I'm going to share with people who get these questions right first. So if you want a chance to have a little fun there with the trivia, you want to brush up maybe on Gnosis Chain validator stuffs in the next 30 minutes. But let's get into it for today. First thing I want to cover is the conferences, the IRL stuff that Gnosis and Gnosis Chain has been up to recently. So DappCon, if you're listening to this Twitter space and you're at DappCon, appreciate y'all turning out. And for those of you who were not able to make it over to DappCon, it occurred earlier this month prior to ETH Berlin and the merge. DappCon is an event that's convened and sponsored primarily by Gnosis. And the last time they were able to do it was back in 2019. So it's been a couple of years. I know everybody had a great time there, including people who are in the space with us right now. Dash and others I know were able to make it over. Stoked. There were over 700 attendees that attended DappCon, and they covered a wide variety of topics from infrastructure and scalability, blockchain for good, NFT ownership, decentralized finance, MEV, governance, and ideas around a universal basic income. So I would invite everyone to head over to YouTube. There is a video, short interview with Stefan of Gnosis. About 25 minutes long, talking about Gnosis Chain, talking about the merge. Again, it's a great piece of content over there on YouTube. I would encourage people to head over there and check it out if you want to learn more about DappCon and what's happening, sort of the latest from the horse's mouth on Gnosis Chain. Another upcoming event that you can plan to attend if you're interested in learning more about Gnosis Chain, specifically helping to learn how to become a validator and take advantage of hackathon bounties. Gnosis Chain is a silver sponsor of ETH Lisbon. So coming up, I believe in November, not that far away, it'll be here before we know it. Gnosis Chain is a silver sponsor, and I can go ahead and link an article if you're interested in learning more about this. What I'm going to do is drop a link directly beneath this space that's currently going on. So let me go ahead and do that now. Again, this link will be to the announcement regarding Gnosis Chain's participation in ETH Lisbon. Last conference I wanted to mention quickly and give a big ups to everybody at specifically Metacartel Mcon 2022. The second iteration of Mcon happened earlier this month, and I was fortunate enough to attend out there in Denver, Colorado, and was able to meet with a number of our good friends, indie builders in and around Gnosis Chain. Of course, Raid Guild and others who have been building on Gnosis Chain since before it was Gnosis Chain. They were all in attendance, and it was great to see folks IRL that are sort of in our builder neighborhood. So Mcon was great fun, and if you have a chance, if you're US based and you have a chance to attend Mcon again next year, you want to connect with people in and around the Gnosis Chain ecosystem, it's a great opportunity to do so. Yaler Moon, okay, just got to show he is the man behind the curtain for that event. And I just got to give him a shout out because he does amazing work on the event side. All right, a couple other things to take note of and content that you might want to check out. Reps from Gnosis Chain were around the Twitter Spaces recently. We had two in particular I'll share with you. One from Etherspot, and this was Dash Tech representing Gnosis Chain, talking about the merge and other things, again, on Etherspot. And the recording is, of course, still available to you. If you wish to head on over there, it's a great conversation. Another one was with Walkwallet. This Twitter space, again, in the last week to 10 days, and was mostly focused on, again, Gnosis Chain and swapping DeFi conversations. So again, Etherspot and Walkwallet. You want to check out their Twitter spaces for conversation with Gnosis Chain reps on partnerships and various related items. Big news item recently is the 1-year anniversary of Gnosis Guild. And Gnosis Guild is one of the many outgrowths of the Gnosis DAO proper. And over the course of the last year, they've launched not one, not two, but 3 different products, some of which you may be aware of and others not. So what I'm going to do here is just go through each of them briefly to explain what they are, what they do, and then I'll include a link in the Twitter space directly beneath the space in the comment section you can click on to learn a little bit more. So the first product that Gnosis Guild built and deployed is known as the Zodiac Protocol. So again, I'm going to go ahead and link this up directly beneath this space, and then I'll explain a little bit about it. The article that I linked is to Mirror, and this article and the subsequent are both written by Key, who's a core contributor at Gnosis Guild, great writer, and she explains, in the case of the link I've provided here, the idea behind Gnosis Zodiac in depth. The TLDR is that Zodiac Protocol is intended to be a modular DAO tooling solution. Okay, so if you are thinking about starting a DAO, you should read about Zodiac. If you already have the basic building blocks of a DAO, maybe you have Discord and you have a Gnosis safe, you should go read about Gnosis. Sorry, you should go read about Zodiac, because it helps really provide the flexibility for progressive decentralization. So they have created different tools that can be adopted depending on decentralized organizations' needs, and it's just a fantastic set of tools. So again, Zodiac Protocol, definitely check it out. The details are contained in the Mirror link below. The second product that actually was most recently deployed, more recently I should say, deployed by Gnosis Guild was the Zodiac Wiki. I'll include another article to this momentarily. All right, another article from Key in Mirror there that I linked below. And Zodiac Wiki is what it sounds. It is a wiki specifically for DAOs. And so I think that one of the things that strikes me about Gnosis Guild is the thoughtfulness behind product design and presentation, and just sort of the general, not just visual aesthetic, but the sort of underlying philosophy and ethos of what they build. In this case, they are obviously replicating, in a sense, they're motivated by similar, I think, intentions of Wikipedia, right? To create a native yet decentralized Wikipedia for decentralized organizations, to create knowledge patterns and to share experiences and knowledge, information, lessons learned. So check out the wiki there. And again, I think any and all feedback on these things is greatly appreciated. We have so many different tools being spun out in this space on a regular basis, that I think those that are getting the most active feedback are going to end up being the best, right? It's through iterative change. So whether it's using Zodiac, whether it's using the Zodiac Wiki, I know that the team would love to hear from you. So you should follow them here on Twitter as well, Gnosis Guild, if you haven't done so already. The final product I wanted to share from Gnosis Guild is called Taboola. Taboola is essentially a blog for DAOs, and it leverages IPFS to create a decentralized data storage. I'm gonna go ahead and link this up as well, real quick, in case people are interested in taking a look beneath the space. We'll add one more. Again, just as a reminder, the articles that are being shared beneath the space, these linked articles, they are in fact articles. They're not necessarily going to take you directly to the DApp, for example. Okay, these are mirror articles, so you can learn a bit more about it. And of course, there are links embedded within. So again, big congratulations and a celebration for Gnosis Guild on their 1-year anniversary. They put out incredible products here. Everybody should go ahead and check them out. Again, that is Zodiac Protocol, which is modular tooling for DAOs, the wiki, as well as organizations. All right, so we're going to move on to the next story here, which is concerning Safe DAO. So the big congratulations here again is the launch not only of Safe DAO, but of soon to be the Safe token, right? Those of you who are a part of the Gnosis ecosystem, Gnosis Chain, you've been around the forum, you're probably well aware of this. If not, if you're a new listener and you're just sort of getting into the Gnosis space, I want to take a moment and just explain why this is important, why you should care, and maybe what you should do about it. So the Gnosis multi-sig, of course, is an industry standard for asset management, right? And you can probably, it would be very difficult, I think, to calculate or to find a big a project by TVL that is not somehow leveraging the Gnosis Safe technology. So earlier this year, there was a conversation that began on the Gnosis forum, GIP 29, with the suggestion to launch a DAO and a specific tokenized asset to govern the Gnosis multisig. So to spin it off in a similar way as other products such as CowSwap and others. And so this conversation has been going on for several months now. And I want to share a couple links here for you if you want to get better informed about it. The two most important recent developments I think that you should be aware of is that there is a token distribution conversation that is happening on the SafeDAO forum, and I will link that here first for those of you who would like to explore it. So we will do all right, so this is now linked up below here. Again, this is the proposal with regards to the distribution dynamics of the SAFE token. A lot of great details in there, and of course, a lot of active conversation. So if by happen chance you're a Gnosis multi-sig user and you didn't know that this was happening, this is a great place to get involved. That would specifically be the Safe DAO forum. Another thing I want to share, of course, is that the Safe DAO team locked in a $100 million raise from a number of different partners led by 1x, and I'm going to share the link to this as well. And so at launch, you have a DAO with over 9 figures, so to speak, and ready to build for the long term, as well as what appears to be a nuanced and complex token distribution to incentivize the best and most decentralized outcomes. So I'm going to go ahead and post one more link here, and this will be to the Safe DAO, the recent raise for Safe DAO. This is an excellent, I would just say this is an excellent article to read in particular. It gives a sufficient amount of context if you're just sort of becoming aware of this story today, okay? If you didn't know that the Gnosis multisig was spinning off into its own standalone project as a DAO, and that it was going to be launching its own token. If you're just hearing about that today, this link is a great one to get you started. So that's all obviously very exciting, and we will be following this story and others by using the SafeDAO forum as a source of truth there. And so bi-weekly, we'll definitely have an update on SafeDAO. But congratulations to the team for this massive raise. And this conversation on distribution obviously can be thorny, but there's a lot of great information and ideas there on the forum link that I shared just a moment ago. I want to turn now to Gnosis Chain specific news. So I have a couple of things to share with you. I'm going to go backwards and then move to the current time. So we have 3 specific stories I want to share with you today. The first is the integration of what is known as the praise system within the Gnosis Chain Validator program. Okay, so this goes down the rabbit hole a little bit, and I want to take a moment to explain what the praise system is about and how its integration with the Gnosis Chain Validator community, I think, is something really novel and interesting. So if you're not aware, the praise system was developed by the Commons Stack. Okay, Commons Stack is a project really focused on building for blockchain for good and for public goods. the praise system, at least the points of contact that I'm most familiar with, are with the Token Engineering Commons and Giveth. Okay, so both of these projects used in the past or continue to use the praise system. So what is it? The praise system is a way to source reputation from a community, okay, for individuals. So I'll give you an example of how this works. You know, in the TEC and in Giveth, at least in the past, the way that it was used was to have a specific channel in Discord that can be used for any member of the community to give praise to another member or to other members, plural, of their community. And this this input, right, from community members is then the praise system will take that input and award a certain incentive or a certain reward to the individuals that have been praised. Okay, so this is obviously a very high level overview. The system can be tweaked and the parameters can be set to the specific needs of a community that's choosing to integrate it. But the idea is human input praising other humans produces an automated on-chain output in the form of incentive rewards for the members of the community that have been praised. Okay, so I know that there is a great more detail in terms of execution and logistics, but as a tool that again helps to source reputation and recognition of good deeds from the community to help incentivize more good deeds is a really interesting primitive and tool. And it was earlier this year that the Gnosis Chain community decided to formally integrate, to invite and integrate the praise system within its validator community. So the update here is that Christopher Lund, who is one of the core devs, I believe, with Common Stack and in that space, he came and did a demo, AMA, for the Gnosis Chain team earlier this month. And so this is something that is continuing to roll out. The sort of TLDR major takeaway here is that the Gnosis Chain really aims to, it's shooting the moon on trying to get the largest validator set for its proof-of-stake network as possible. And so there's a lot of experimentation around how to onboard and educate people, inspire them, motivate them, and incentivize them to do good things to help secure the network. I don't know of any other sidechain that is using this kind of mechanism, but I think just the experimentation around incentivization of validators is really interesting and obviously something to look into. If you're first of all, if you are a validator, if you're running a node on Gnosis Chain, you should definitely know about the praise system. And if you're not, let's put it this way: if you have an interest in running nodes in general and helping to secure a blockchain, why are you not already in for the GBC? No, it's essentially, if you're interested in running nodes and helping to secure proof-of-stake networks, Gnosis Chain should be at the top of your list of just begin learning, like today. You have the weekend, go and check out their docs. They got a lot of interesting incentives and experimentation around it. Very cool stuff. Other news from Gnosis Chain. This is a quick one here, but the Hopper protocol, so HOPR, Hopper, their goal is to create a private internet for all the humans. Okay, so they have a really big goal. The Hopper protocol, the Hopper project, they just began farming for the Hopper token on Swapper. So I wanted to bring this farming opportunity to people's attention. This is obviously, I think, providing liquidity for projects you care about matters, and obviously there is some farming there available. So check it out on Swapper, again, on Gnosis Chain. I'm not sure what the primary pair is, but this is for the HOPR, the Hopper token, to support the creation of a private internet for humans. And the third piece here on Gnosis Chain news is a recent integration with Cask. So there's a great Twitter thread from Cask. Cask is spelled C-A-S-K. I'll go ahead and link up this Twitter thread again beneath this space. Make sure I'm in the right spot. Okay. Cask protocol is now integrated with Gnosis Chain. And again, I've just linked up a good Twitter thread for people to take a look at if you're interested in learning more. The main takeaway here is that Cask really offers a couple products. One is automated money flow. So you can set, this would be used for something like DCAing, for example. So you can set program auto buys on chain. So you can automate your DCAing strategy if you wish using Cask, and they also support NFT subscriptions. So sort of a subscription framework for perhaps for content creators and others who are interested in issuing NFTs that would grant access on a subscription basis. So Cask Protocol is integrated and is operational on Gnosis Chain. So definitely check out the thread below. This is a major recent integration and something you want to take a look at if you are a part of the Gnosis Chain neighborhood. If not, head on over and add the RPC. Cask is definitely an interesting project here, providing these two different types of utility for users. All right, so I'm looking here. I have a few minutes left before the bottom of the hour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover a few quick items from the Gnosis Snapshot, talk about the forum momentarily. We'll do the trivia, and then we're going to bring on Uma for the interview. I don't know if I'm going to get all that in the next 2 minutes, but I'm going to try. I have a list of GIPs I wanted to touch on today that have come to the Snapshot, but I'll just touch on the two that passed recently. There are a number that had positive support but failed to reach quorum. There are two that passed, one from last month, but people should be aware of it because it's a large proposal and it's got a lot of really awesome people coming on to help provide development support. So this is to fund the boot node as a core contributor team. This passed last month, allocating around 600K for 6 months, and this is going to bring a lot of engineering and development talent into the ecosystem to focus on bridges, to help work with the Circles project, as well as run Gnosis Chain nodes. The other one that passed, and this was 2 days ago. Okay, so this is a recent one, is an initiative to distribute safe tokens for decentralization. So this intersects with the story we were mentioning earlier. 15% of the safe token supply will be granted over time to GnosisDAO. So the headline there is, right, the launch of safe token, a significant portion will be shared essentially with GnosisDAO. And this proposal, GIP 64, is intended to use at least a portion of those safe tokens to incentivize further decentralization of GC, potentially providing yield to GNO stakers. Okay, so like an additional yield. So this is, again, GIP 64, passed 2 days ago, so this is obviously in motion here. The two items on the forum people might want to take a look at is a post by our buddy Chewy, who is looking to lock in some sponsorship for the Daoist Bogota. We're going to have Chewy on hopefully in the next episode to share about his recent crypto rock tour. I mean, Chewy is a rock star, and he's looking here to bring more people together in Bogota. There's GIP 66 currently under discussion, as well as discussion to create a Gnosis Chain ecosystem and analytics dashboard as GIP 67. So these two proposals are currently on the forum and open for conversation. So what I'd like to do just quickly here, I tell you what, we'll do one question now, and then we'll do one question at the end of the interview with Uma. Okay, so I promise this, we'll do one right now. I'll tell you guys how this is going to work, and then we'll bring Uma up and we'll have our awesome chat. Okay, so I am going to post beneath the Twitter space. It's a slide, okay, and it has. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do it this way. So we keep, we're going to keep the thread clean. So T Wells, I am going to tweet separately from the space. I'm going to tweet a slide, because part of the challenge is you got to follow directions. I'm going to tweet a slide, and it's going to have a multiple choice question on it. The first person to respond with the correct answer in the comment section, okay, I'll send you some GNO. It'll be fun. They were talking about a couple bucks, folks. Nobody's going to get rich here. We're just going to have fun, right? Say it one more time. I'm going to tweet a slide from my Twitter account. It's about Gnosis, right? Gnosis Chain, the show here. The first person to respond with the correct answer in the comment section of that tweet thread, right? You want a little bit of GNO, a couple bucks. Let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to tweet this guy. Okay, folks, here we go. Do you want to participate in the fun? Again, I'm tweeting. I have tweeted a slide with a question on it. All you need to do is respond with a comment, the right answer. What do you think? A, B, C, or D. And the question is, how much GNO is required to become a validator on Gnosis Chain? Is it A, 15 GNO? Is it B, 32 GNO, C, 75 GNO, or D, 100 GNO? You want a chance for winning some GNO? Answer in the comment section. First person to have the right answer will win. Let's go ahead and leave that up now. We'll double back towards the top of the hour to see who our lucky winner is. In the meantime, I'd like to get Uma up here to chat about Succinct Labs. So Uma, give me 1 second and I'm gonna get you up on stage. GM, Uma, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, I can.
I know it's early for you there. How are you today?
I'm good. Yeah, it's early where I am.
Well, I appreciate you joining us. And I hope we've had a good week so far. Obviously we'd like to get straight into it, but first I'd like to hear a bit about yourself. Maybe tell the people, how did you find your way into crypto Web3, a little about your background, and then we'll maybe segue and talk specifically about these crazy trustless bridges you guys are proposing to build.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I actually got into crypto more last year during 2021. Before that, I was doing machine learning research, and then I was at a machine learning infrastructure startup. So pretty different background, but I'd done a lot of math in school and college, and really like math. And I encountered ZK Snarks through a good friend who kind of introduced it to me, and I just got really nerd. It was really cool, and technically, I was just very like that. So that was my introduction into that world, and it was very fun. And then over time, I transitioned more into like learning about like snarks for scaling and using the succinctness property for scaling. Of course, like all the ZK rollup teams do that. And then over the summer, that's when me and John, who's my co-founder, who we were working on GIP 57 on, which is this trust minimized bridge using snarks. That's when we started working on that over the summer as part of Xerox Park, which I'm happy to go into more as well.
Yeah, super. I mean, tell me a little more though. I'm curious, what got you interested in ZK tech to begin with, and maybe privacy in general?
Yeah, I think as I mentioned, the math itself is just really amazing, and I think especially for ZK Snarks, when you first explain it to people, everyone thinks, "Wow, like this really shouldn't be possible." And I think I definitely had that feeling too. Like this is some crazy magical thing, and so just the technology and like making something that seems like it shouldn't be possible was what really drew me in the first place, and being like, "Oh man, how I have to figure out how this works." Um, I think, yeah, generally, of course, like Tornado Cash or Dark Forest or all these other applications, you're able to bring privacy to blockchain. I think that's really, really powerful. And then I think, the scaling stuff with like using the succinctness properties, also really magical, and kind of, with ZK Snarks, there's the ZK part and then there's the succinctness part. And yeah, both properties I find very interesting. Yeah, certainly I think like the privacy applications are also really, really interesting.
Very cool. I was going to say, one of the questions I had in the list here was to get that, explain it to me like I'm five explanation of ZK tech. How would you, if somebody was just, they maybe have been hearing about it, maybe they came across y'all's, proposal, but they don't really know a whole lot. Maybe they're not math oriented too much. How would you go about explaining it?
Yeah, I think so. There's like what it does, which that doesn't require a lot of math to understand. It's basically like you have some function, and it can be like any arbitrary functions, and so there's a prover, and then there's a verifier, and so the kind of setup is you have some prover who wants to prove to a verifier that they computed some function on a set of inputs, and then this particular function computed on this set of inputs has a particular output. And so, that's like a very generic setup. And then the key thing here is two things. One thing is the verifier is able to verify that, a certain function has a certain output in a much shorter amount of time than it actually takes to run the function. So like, if you have some function f and some inputs x and you want to show f of x equals y, okay, like very, very basic math. The verifier is able to verify, okay, yes, f of x does equal y in a less amount of time than it actually takes to compute, like to actually do the computation, which is like really, really crazy. And then so that's kind of the succinctness part. It's like succinctly verifiable. So succinct just means it's like short, so you can verify it very quickly. And then the other part is the ZK part, the zero knowledge part, where basically I can prove to a verifier that f of x equals y, and then I don't have to reveal x. So it's more like I know a set of inputs, and I can keep them hidden. And then I know a set of inputs that, when you compute f of, these inputs, it results in this answer. And the verifier can verify that I know a set of inputs without me having to reveal what those inputs are. So that's the zero knowledge part. And yeah, that's the part that's used for privacy. So that's kind of how I'd explain this setup to people at like the highest level of like what's going on. I think a really good example in the wild of something you might be like, oh whoa, this like isn't possible, or this is like so different. But I think something that I tell like a lot of my friends is actually like signature schemes. Like public key encryption is actually like a really, it's not a zero knowledge proof, but it's kind of reminiscent of this, right? Like when you sign something with your private key, you can prove to the world that, oh, I have the private key corresponding to my public key. But of course, no one knows what your private key is. So, maybe that's like one thing to think about here and, make it less mysterious.
I got it. Yeah, and this is then it enables. Well, let me actually back up for a second. So, if this is what we're thinking about as far as ZK, if we take a step back and say, all right, we have all these bridge exploits, right, this year. What is, in your opinion, like what are the issues surrounding this? What is the architectural problems, and then how does ZK intersect to maybe help to solve for those problems?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I think the landscape of cross-chain interop and bridges in general, has a few issues. So I think the first issue is currently today most bridge or designs are you have some like multi-sig that basically you have a centralized entity controlled by multi-sig, and this entity watches one chain for deposits and then signs off on withdrawals on another chain. And this is bad because it's centralized, it's censorable, and then of course if you have these multi-sig keys, they can get hacked. So some of the bridge hacks, basically they compromise the private keys of this multi-sig, and then they can like do bad things. Other bridge hacks that we've seen that this year don't compromise like the trust model of the bridge, but they compromise there's like smart contract code that's buggy, and basically that's the attack vector. So it's not compromising the trust model, but it's attacking the smart contract code. And so that's like another large category of bridge attacks that has nothing to do with the trust model, but all to do with like the implementation details. So I think that's the existing problem with the current, cross-chain landscape or bridge landscape. And then, yeah, how snarks come into it. Basically, I think a lot of people are probably familiar with IBC. And so what IBC is, it's this way that different app chains in the Cosmos ecosystem talk to each other. And the fundamental idea is you have a light client for one chain running in the execution environment of the other chain. And when you have a light client and you can keep track of the headers of a source chain in the execution layer of a target chain, then you can do trust minimized state reads from the source chain and the target chain. So you can prove, hey, like, some actions happened on chain A in chain B because you just do some Merkle proofs against the headers that you're keeping track of in the light client. And so with light clients, if you're able to run them, then you can have trust minimized. I would say I don't think it's completely trustless. So we always say trust minimized, a trust minimized interop or cross-chain communication solution. The problem with light clients is running a light client is on Ethereum or other, expensive block space execution environments is running a light client in a smart contract is really, really expensive, right? Like you have to verify a bunch of signatures, you have to keep track of updates of validator set. So there's like a lot of issues with running a light client on Ethereum. And so that's why with Snarks and using their succinctness property, we're able to basically lower the cost of running a light client in Ethereum. So very similar to how ZK rollup teams are using Snarks for scaling execution. We are using Snarks for something we call proof of consensus. So basically, you can use Snarks for verifying consensus, and using that, you can have this like verifiable proof of consensus, and then that you can run a succinct light client. And so, more concretely, what this looks like is off chain, you do a bunch of like the necessary computations to verify consensus. Like you verify a bunch of signatures, you verify the validator set's updated correctly, and you you do that in a snark off chain where compute is cheap, and then you simply verify the computation on chain, and their on chain computation is quite expensive, but because of the succinctness property, it's actually really cheap to verify that, oh yeah, all the right validators did sign off on this header, this is the new header, let's like store it in the smart contract. So yeah, that's kind of like the high level idea of how you can use snarks to have succinct light clients that enable trust minimized interop on Ethereum and other blockchains.
Got it. So if let me repeat one thing back to you because I'm not a technician. Maybe some people in the audience are. I just want to make sure I understand. So succinct enables off-chain consensus confirmation, essentially,
Yeah.
or is that inaccurate? Okay.
Yeah, it does it off chain and then you can like verify it on chain.
Got it. Got it. Well, I'd love to hear a little more about Succinct Labs. So maybe tell me the origin story there. Share a little bit about how that all got started with us.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, the full story is basically Xerox Park is this R&D focused org that's funded by the EF and and closely affiliated with the EF and a few other entities in the space. And I just happen to be good friends with the guy who's running it, and they're very focused on ZK snarks and just other like applied cryptography experiments in general. So over the summer, they had a really nice co-working space, and we were all working out of there and working on various different projects. And yeah, we were trying to figure out what to work on. And I think Martin from Gnosis and some other of the Gnosis folks um, had this kind of idea around enabling a trust minimized bridge using snarks. And so we collaborated with them and got this, and we were like, oh, that's amazing, we have some snarks that we can basically build this concept out with. So we collaborated with them, and then we had this proposal GIP 57 to start working on this, and then GnosisDAO was extremely generous in giving us this amazing grant to work on this over the summer. And originally, basically for GIP 57, the proposal is we're going to build a succinct light client for Ethereum proof of stake. And because Gnosis Chain is also an Ethereum proof of stake chain, once you have a succinct Ethereum light client, then you can do a bidirectional bridge between Ethereum and Gnosis that's trust minimized. And so that's what we were working on. We built out a prototype for it, and we're working really closely with the Gnosis team to push it into production and hopefully power like the native Gnosis Chain bridge on top of it. And so, yeah, I think we're all super excited about that, like to be the first like proof of consensus based bridge in production. Um, so that's kind of like the origin story. And then at the end of the summer, we were just doing it for the summer and, just this grant. And then we kind of realized, oh, this approach actually works for, a lot of other ecosystems. And every other ecosystem is also like really, really excited about what we're building. And it seems like, certainly the interop space needs a solution like this, just because of, what's happened. And so then we decided, okay, it makes sense to start a company, which we're calling Succinct Labs, and just work more broadly on this problem and really have like a focus group of people working on this like for the long term. So yeah, that's like how it started. A lot of thanks to Martin and Stefan at Gnosis and all the people at Gnosis Chain, and GnosisDAO.
Totally. Well, it's awesome to see some of this pioneering stuff being built and sponsored by Gnosis. Are you guys, so you're finished with both phases of the proposal, or sort of where, just orient me? Where are you guys at in the process?
Oh, yeah. So phase one and phase two of the proposal. So phase one was kind of building out like a prototype, and then phase two was kind of, polishing up the prototype and getting it, in a state where it'd be like production ready. We're I would say we're mostly done with phase two. We're just we're gonna open source our code soon. And we're just getting our repository into a status where we feel really good about the code being open source, like documenting it and stuff like that. So yeah, we're almost done with phase two. And then I think, phase three would be to push it into production, which is, that was like not part of the grant, but we're just going to work with the Gnosis team on doing that.
Got it. Very cool. Well, yeah, I looking at some of the folks around the space here, I've learned a lot about bridges and the dangers thereof, particularly Billy. And so it's exciting. It's got me down the path of sort of learning what the issues are, and this proposal in particular is really exciting. I guess, maybe to sort of push towards wrapping things, I'd like to hear about like what are some of the things that get you most excited, either if it's related to ZK applications or other things outside ZK and crypto. I was curious always to hear what gets them bullish for the mid to long term.
Yeah, I think of course I'm really excited about Snarks, both for scaling and for privacy. Like I think what all the ZK rollup teams are doing is like really, really interesting. I think what we're doing is also, really interesting. I think in a blockchain, right, there's a couple of things the blockchain does. One's execution, one's consensus. And, a lot of people are working on execution, and now we're working on scaling verification of consensus. And so, yeah, hopefully, like, you can put those two things together in a really interesting way. I think outside of Snarks for scaling and privacy, I think there's a lot of really interesting stuff in gaming. Like I'm really excited about gaming and games coming onto these chains, or different chains. I think there's actually like a really nice synergy with interoperability. Like I think having better trust minimized interop will allow for really crypto native games, right? Like you can have these different chains like talking to each other, and maybe like the game execution occurs on one chain, but like the game assets or other game state lives on another chain, or maybe you have two different gaming chains talking to each other. So I'm very excited about gaming in general. I think that's like a really new exciting area of the ecosystem, and like looking forward to seeing like what people create with it.
Very cool. Yeah, gaming, bullish here as well. I'm always sort of struck by the resistance in some of the sort of non-crypto gaming spaces, but I think we can overcome it. I just want to open the floor a little bit. If there's anybody who'd like to ask questions about anything we've been chatting about here with Uma and about GIP 57, ZK, if you want to request permission to speak and come on up and ask a question, feel free to do so, and we can grant you those perms there. Uma, do you game outside of crypto? Or is this more of a sort of an interesting application in crypto that you're watching?
Yeah, I don't really game too much, but it's more like seeing what other people built and like seeing how cool it is.
Totally. Yeah. Obviously Gnosis Chain's got, I think it's got to be one of the longest running on-chain games in Dark Forest. Very cool. If folks haven't heard of Dark Forest, you should definitely check it out. It's kind of a rabbit hole, but if you're interested, Dark Forest, Google it. They just had a proposal actually passed recently on the Gnosis DAO. Let's see here. Billy, let me bring you up here to ask a question, sir. Approved. Jim Billy.
Guys, morning or morning for me at least.
Yeah, you're out there in Pacific time with Uma, so big ups to you too, Billy.
Awesome. Uma, question for you. Obviously, I'm kind of just like tinkering in the world of the ZK world. I've been messing around with circuits and everything, and you just blew my mind with all the stuff talking. What I'm looking for is, being able to translate that onto code. So, as I would say, a very, very early newbie into the zero knowledge world, specifically ZK Snarks, is there libraries that you would suggest for me to check up? I've been checking out ZK Whiteboard and things like that, but are there any places that like I can just literally test? Because I learned by doing. So when I want to run like a local test or local script, I want to be able to test this out with some kind of ZK type of library, so then I can see it flow and then understand it.
Yeah, totally. I think like Circom is a really good start. So Circom is what Tornado Cache's circuits are written in. It's kind of a very long running DSL. It's its own programming language for making circuits, made by Jordi Bellina and a few other people who are now at Polygon doing Polygon Hermes. So they're making a ZK rollup. Yeah, Jordi's really amazing. So Circom's great introduction. It's definitely still can be difficult to use, but I think they have like a great, if you just go to their website, they have like a great tutorial and introduction and docs and stuff like that. So yeah, I would try playing with Circom. That was like what we wrote all our circuits in. I think it's like a great starter language. And you can always look at like the Tornado Cache circuits, or they have like they have like their code somewhere on GitHub. And I think the Tornado Cache circuits are actually really small, and like if you study them, I think you can get a good idea of like how this stuff gets used. There's a few like Circom tutorials. I think Vitalik has a lot of really great blog posts on kind of the math behind snarks. So yeah, that would be like my recommendations for how to like dive into stuff. I think Dark Forest has some great blog posts. ZKGA.me, I think. Yeah, so it has a bunch of blog posts on like ZK and snarks. So yeah, I think those are all like great resources I recommend. But yeah, starting with Circom, I think is a great start for playing around.
Awesome. I appreciate it. I remember when I was in college and I had to do all this stuff. I'm like, I'm never going to use this proof stuff. And here we are. So anyways, appreciated. Also want to throw out there, nice to see Gnosis throwing some stuff on the Twitter space. Awesome. Shout out to all my Gnosis folks. All right, I'm out.
I appreciate you, Billy, and thanks so much for the education. I hope people had a chance to catch that. In terms of some beginner resources there, if you're looking to get into ZK, got Nacho as well. I'll bring you up here to ask a question here. 1 second. If I'm not mistaken, Nacho, you have a recent proposal you're working on. Proof of humanity, is it not? Welcome. Hey, Nacho, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Hello. How are you guys?
Hey, no problem. Yeah, good. How are you?
You're fan of Gnosis Chain. I'm just trying to see where I can stake my GNO and bridge it from Ethereum to Gnosis. So yeah, I'm a huge fan, and also recently I posted a Jeep. Didn't get the quorum needed to pass to get funding for our project. It's a Web3 marketplace, and I was wondering if there's any way that to have a space or a talk in Discord or anything with the community to talk about our project.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you hopping up here. I would say let me definitely talk to the team. We've discussed using this show as a potentially as a forum if we elongate it a bit to provide a space for people who have active proposals to come and pitch and present to the community in a live fashion. So like, I think we definitely vibe with it. I don't know, I can't give you a definitive answer right now, but I'll definitely take a look at it. And remind me though again. So was your proposal was having to do with the marketplace, right? Ubai, I'm going to mispronounce it, but is that correct? Was it GIP 65?
Yep, it was. Yeah, yeah, 65. Yeah, I think.
Okay. So yeah, let me get back to you on that. Maybe we can talk in DMs here. I am going to link the documentation on GNO liquid staking. So let me go ahead and post that link right now. This will be below this space. So if you or anybody else, I'm glad you asked, if you're looking to figure out how to stake your GNO, just posted the link. So hopefully if that helps. Otherwise, again, ping me in DMs. I'm happy to help you. And with that, we are close to the top of the hour here. So again, I want to encourage folks to join us again in 2 weeks. And if you've got questions, bring them. We're happy to have conversation live here. Very big thanks, Uma. I appreciate you joining us today. Thanks for spending time and explaining a bit about what you're working on.
Yeah, for sure. It was fun.
Excellent. Well, I'm gonna wrap up real quick here with first of all acknowledging my I guess my error, because the trivia question I put down at the bottom of the hour was like actually it wasn't meant to be a trick question, but maybe it sort of ended up appearing that way. So I have another one that I've double, triple, quadruple checked as being like not sort of screwy. So I'm gonna post it in just a second. But for the record, it is one. So the folks that guessed there. And in this case, I think the first reply is Billy. So we're going to think about that. Despite my horrible and like misguiding question, if you replied with the right answer first, big ups to you. The answer is one. So there's one GNO. Now, of course, you think of the documentation, the link that Dosh has posted. When you stake it, it actually gets divided into 32, mirroring the ETH system. But it's only one GNO. So the reason that this question matters is because, of course, it's intentionally accessible. It's a great entry point for people to get involved with helping to secure the network. So I'm going to post, to wrap the show today, I'm going to post one more slide. So again, I am going to tweet it from my personal account to keep this other thread clear. And this is going to be another question related to validators. Gnosis Chain team, you're not allowed to guess because I've shared it with you guys already. But I'm going to go ahead and post this live, and it's the same format as the previous one. The question is, what is the current number of validators securing Gnosis Chain? Do the same thing, leave your answer below, and the first correct answer, I'll ping you in DMs. You share me your OX, we'll share a little GNO. So I'm going to give it a second here to see who comes up with the right answer. But I want to again thank everybody for joining us today. Check out the broadcast on YouTube if you want to play it back with a little bit of motion graphics. We're going to be getting some nice visual overlays in the coming weeks here. But follow Gnosis Chain, follow Gnosis. Check out the Gnosis Chain Substack that will be coming out today. We hope everybody has an excellent rest of the day and a good weekend. Let's see who responds. And Billy's in first with D, and he is correct. Over 100,000 validators, 106,881 to be precise. And I've been told officially, that once the merge is complete on the Gnosis Beacon chain, that it will be the second most decentralized network by validator count after ETH mainnet. So big ups to everybody. If you want to become a validator, it's a great place to get started. Everybody have a great Friday, a great weekend, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks. Cheers, everyone.